So, oh, what was I just gonna say? I'm so sorry, I just blanked.
Excellent.
Excellent, Willie. Uh,
Oh,
I you've mentioned the vanguards a couple of times, and there was a question on whether or not you guys felt the program was useful. Obviously, it does sound like you guys do. A little extra onto that is, are you guys going to be looking into new vanguards again soon?
So yeah, the vanguards are absolutely useful. I don't spend as much time with the vanguards as I should. Um, I do get all of their feedback escalated through our team. So I know we have multiple people within this basically the private Vanguard group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's something that for me at least it's been useful kind of just getting those feedback updates that kind of get channeled through the team. And I know our team is super active from basically the abuse reports that get escalated to here's as a player advocate, here's what we believe that you're going to see if you ship the feature in this way. Like this is kind of a preview of the kind of feedback that we expect you're going to see. One of the things that I would also love to have help with would be right now there's a relatively small number of vanguards,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the only ones that have access to the new builds or the sort of like our our beta builds. So like
Mm-hmm.
we do our internal team testing and then we release that version to vanguards. But for us to get a little bit more of kind of a advanced early warning of, hey, if we ship this feature, it has a really strange issue with this specific Android device or with this specific version number. Getting that kind of information would be more easy to suss out if we had more people within that test pool. So then trying to think through, again, I typically kind of look at problems
Volunteer
more
as
from like,
tribute.
uh,
Sorry.
well,
Of
Brian, I
course you do.
found the tutorial bug with the drone it, so I would be, of course, #1 for a beta build. So if you do spin it up, I would love to be part of it. Just saying.
Sorry.
and I think the way that we've been looking at it too is, so I obviously know there are some players that do want to take that risk of like, we know this is a pre-release build, that there may be issues with it. It's always been tested by our team first before it goes to
Mm-hmm.
a Vanguard or to the Vanguard group. But yeah, just being able to expand or widen that group a bit, I think that could be pretty useful. Whether that's something that maybe it's a recursion benefit. I know we have to make good on that promise too of like, what do you get from recursing other than the nice red wings? That's, maybe that's something along those lines could be interesting to kind of explore.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because I know that originally there was going to be the way that the Vanguard program had been presented. Um, the second round was that there was going to be a continuing flow every 6 months or so. And um, that kind of, I know that hasn't taken priority right now, which there's a lot more that you guys are working on, which we appreciate. But it has been a question, because there has been notice that a couple vanguards have left, and the question has been brought up: are those ones going to be replaced? There was a list of forms that agents filled out, so I think there is some interest for some agents to help, but who
Yeah,
knows? The
I
game
think,
has changed.
I mean, the way that I used to work with player advocates in the past, so this would have been back in the Google days. So it was more specific to setup for anomalies. So typically the way it was is that we had kind of Google Plus groups of POCs or like people who were points of contact for that city.
Mm-hmm.
But typically the way it worked would be myself and then the other game designer, we'd kind of map out, okay, these are the cities where we're going to have the event, based on where we see basically the most active portals, or also where we've gotten park permits for. This is kind of the general layout of how the event is going to be run. And then we would present those to the POCs. And I think if I remember right, it was typically like 2 enlightened, 2 resistance per city. And then basically getting feedback of like, hey, does this look right? Are these the right sets of portals? Are there any gotchas here of like, no, this is actually not the best area to be in because of XYZ reason, or, you know, this is fine, but it's this specific portal, you're going to get crazy drift, or there's construction going on, or whatever. Things that we didn't know, because we're, at least for me, like I'm looking at it from basically a Google map or from Intel map.
Yeah.
But that POC program was really event specific and time specific. So they would be POCs, but it would be just for kind of a limited time window. And then there would be other people that cycled in. I wasn't around when the Vanguard program got started. And I think the premise and like the concept of it is very different from that kind of a POC program. But in terms of having player advocates, I do think it would be helpful to have people coming and going, just to get kind of, I guess, a bit more diversity of opinion in that group. But that said, I don't personally manage the Vanguard program. I think basically our marketing and our community people that we do have internal on the team, they're the ones who are most active on those private groups. And then I've kind of deferred to them on how should this program work, and how should we move forward with it. But I know they have some thoughts of one, continuing to build on the Vanguard program we have, but then also some of my feedback about, it would be nice to have additional test coverage, and possibly use that as a benefit for, you know, the people who do want to, who choose to opt in or who want to be a part of that beta group, would be able to. I guess like the last note would just be, I don't want this to seem like a job or an obligation. Like I really do see it as, I think the work has to be done by us and by our team. And that I do see those kinds of programs as player advocates of making sure that, you know, we're kind of hearing feedback from the players, we're getting it escalated in a timely manner, but then we're also sharing that feedback back to the community. And I try to do that, I guess, with like kind of a one-to-many approach of like, if I can answer someone's question and I'm doing it over a Twitter DM or like a private message, then it's only getting heard by that one person. So that's why I typically don't respond to those. But if I'm doing something like this, where it's right now, I guess it's just, you know, technically the 3 of us chatting, but I know it's going to get shared out with many more than just 3 people. And then the other kind of note is, so because you've shared those questions with me in advance, I'll also make sure like I type up the answers so that they're a little bit, I think, more succinct and coherent. But I'll type those up and then I'll add those to the forum, so that there's, you know, I think this recording, but then also kind of a text record of it in the Ingress forum that people can see. Actually, that just reminded me too, back to your question about like, how do we improve the communication? So I was a big fan of the AMAs or the Ask Me Anything things that Andrew Krug used to do. So if something like that, if this could be something like that, where I can type up my responses to your questions and then we kind of go from here, I'd be happy to do that. It's a lot easier for me to just jump on a 1-hour call versus trying to answer multiple questions every day. So again, that's why I'm so grateful and thankful, is you're saving me a lot of time.
Thank you. I do want to just put it out there that we really do appreciate the Vanguards that have been with you guys and working with you guys. Like, I mean, they're being our voices in many different ways, and they're testing out stuff for us. So, which we're all eager to see.